welcome to Grappers, episode 44. So this will be the 45th edition that I put out. This is due to a few things. If we're going to do admin first, one being the case that the show happened on June the 5th. At the time of recording, it is June 21st, and we have recorded Future Shock and Progress within that time. The cause of the backlog, if you like to say so, was a case of just really trying to get anyone to help out on the episode, but alas, scheduling and people just not particularly feeling comfortable wanting to review this show has kind of fell on my shoulders to do it on my own. So there is no help. It is a one-man crew. That said, we will get into this particular event. And obviously, if you've read the description, I've blown it for you because we are talking about Salford City Wrestling in the triangle of kind of like Manchester in a sense, where the venue is in Swinton. The building is called the Pendlebury Social Club, and the show is Salford. So you have three things, which I always find a bit of a funny thing, which shows how much of a life I don't have. That said, we were there for friend or foe, and we had quite a few matches, if memory serves. We had a total of about 8 matches, kind of give or take. So I'm got a new system I am going to try. Some matches I will go in depth with. Some I will not particularly talk too much on, just because I want to see which works better. And you'll kind of see which ones it is. So we started with match number 1. As we had the leading man, Tony Wright, taking on Nishiki, one half of the bigger picture, though he did have his tag partner in Mighty Joe Young down at ringside. So this was an interesting, and in truth, a really good opening contest. Tony, who is a fan favourite, but it's weird because of all like the shows I go to, when you hear Tony Wright's music plays, he is instantly getting a pop. However, at Salford, it is like its own little climate, which is not a bad thing at all. But the response I find isn't what you normally get when you hear Tony come out. But he seems to be winning them round. I think the hardcore Northwest fans we kind of know who you cheer for and who you don't. But with that, Nishiki, I've said it before, is a bit of a guilty pleasure, if truth be told. I don't really see him that often on shows. I have seen him on a New Wave show in the past, but most of my time seeing him is at Salford. Very similar to Joe Young. Both of them have a soft spot in my heart in a weird way. So kind of a bit of a backstory uh, to this, which I wondered how things would tie in. Um, so Tony took on Bentley at the last show, and Bentley beat Tony. Bentley puts his hand out to kind of like good sportsmanship, and Tony did not take the loss. Good, I suppose, is one way to put it, and just left Bentley hanging there, and then kind of fought with himself on the stage. Do I go back? Do I carry on walking? And Tony carried on walking. So we come to this match. Nishiki is not going to get cheered by the Salford faithful. It's just not going to happen. This was a really fun match, though, to start things off. Tony, obviously being, as I say, the fan favourite in this, has much of the contest in his favour. Nishiki just trying to find any way he can to get into this contest. But Tony always seems to kind of have a step ahead of him. However, that changes very quickly when Nishiki yanks the ankle of Tony, who is up on Brett's rope, and sees Nishiki gaining the upper hand in this contest. We see a whip by Nishiki to right into the turnbuckle as Tony takes an awkward kind of back first into the corner. That looked a bit gnarly, as I think the group of us that were congregated together winced a bit at, because it didn't particularly look a nice fall, let's put it that way. Nishiki then hits a very nice drop kick as he controls the match for the next few minutes, helped with shenanigans by his bigger picture stablemate, if you want to call that, in Mighty Joe Young, as we have the holding of the hands. So Nishiki has Tony Wright in the abdominal stretch. Nishiki, wanting more leverage, holds his arm out, and Joe Young just grasps onto his hand, pulling back, adding more torque, if you like, to the abdominal stretch. The referee finally spots this, and then we go through a spell of, because I'm sad and I counted it, 12 back and forth pinning attempts, with ref Stu Davis earning his money on this. None of them bring a pinfall victory for either man. We're then graced by Connor Patrick Riley. However, soon after, or immediately, Bentley comes down and attacks Riley. And from that point onwards, it feels like the outside takes over what's happening in the ring. So much so that Tony Wright gets distracted himself, tells Bentley, "I'm good, I don't need your help, go away, everything's fine, I've got everything in hand." And then upon turning around, Nishiki gets him in a small package to pick up the pinfall victory. We then see Bentley and Tony not so much at loggerheads, but Bentley profusely apologizes to Tony, saying, I'm sorry. Gets the microphone, apologies to Tony, saying, I'm really sorry what happened. You can hear Wright at this point saying, I had them, I didn't need your help. Bentley goes on to tell Connor Patrick Riley that he wants him now. And then we have the vigilante asking Tony if he will stay outside to keep an eye on the other two, that being Nishiki and Joe Young. Tony shakes his head walks away, and then leaves with the parting words, "I had to do it on my own. You can do it on your own." So I think we're sowing seeds here of what might happen down the line, which, I mean, does kind of excite me for where they may go with this. Of course, we'll see what happens. Match number 2, as I say, was the vigilante Bentley. I'll get that word. I can't even talk now, but I'll carry on. He faced Conor Patrick Riley, again with the bigger picture at ringside. So the notes I have for this: as the bell rings, Conor Patrick Riley, who is one of those I enjoy watching because he's just the smarmiest person, and he really does play the bad guy role so well. So of course, when the ring bell starts, Bentley wants to kill him, and Riley chooses, "No, I'm not ready yet." So he absconds from the ring, then does it again as he stepped 1 foot in the ring and chooses, I'm going to stay out. However, this plan does not work for long, as Bentley comes flying through the ropes and then proceeds to chop him about 3 to 4 times on the outside. Oh, dear God, I would not want to be on the end of a chop from Bentley, because if you've heard him and seen him, you'll know why. So Bentley starts off strong, goes to pick Riley up on his shoulders. Riley counters, dodges a drop kick, and then hits a really good spear on his opponent, does Conor Patrick. And then we get arguably one of my favorite moves that I see. If I had the footage or the audio, I would play it. Unfortunately, I can't because I was chatting to Jeebus. But I was so happy when it happened. So when there's a bit of a lull, Riley will then break out the "Not since Andre the Giant has the bear hug been used so effective. So I bring to you the genius hug." Is it stupid? Yes. However, it is fantastic. I love it. I am an absolute fool for liking it, but it brings a big smile to my face every time he comes out with this. Please never stop doing it. I beg you. However, he puts the bear hug on. Later on, we then see an inverted Alabama slam by Bent to draw a 2 count. Riley then hits a rock bottom from nowhere. Bentley then hits an AA, with then having the bigger picture hitting the ring. And Joe Young distracts Bentley, with Riley raking the eyes of his opponent, hits a drop down neck breaker off the knee, followed by a running knee to the back of his opponent's head. And we see Conor Patrick Riley picking up the 1, 2, and the 3. Really good match. Again, I'm a fan of both these, so I don't know how long it went for. I meant to write the times down, but this was it followed the entertainment of the first match, and it just kind of kept the momentum going, I felt. We then moved on to a promo section with the King of Salford, King Troy, as he was joined by Jensen Vesper back from his French halls. His the King's envoy. Troy tells us that last time out, we saw King Troy losing in a tag team encounter, which we did. That was against the Banter Bus. However, he claimed that the reason they lost was due to that clown, Peter Sador. I have to call slander on particularly that. Blames him for the defeat and has now sent him packing from SCW. He then adds that Vesper is here to get rid of Jack Johnson. And then we instead have the music, which I hadn't particularly heard before. And we got Peter Sador entering the fray. Had the crowd cheer for him, which was a new thing, I think, even for him. Sador enters the ring very sheepishly and apologetic. Gets the microphone and says things didn't work out. Has a chair with him and says, "I've brought a throne," which obviously was the chair. And he said, "I'll put it up there with your throne and we can sit together and work things out." But Sador asks for another chance to join the monarchy. Troy obliges under one condition, and Sador is very happy to agree to these terms and conditions. And Troy tells him that he will select an opponent for Sador. If he wins, he can join the monarchy. If he doesn't, then he can't. So Sador agrees to these conditions. Ryan then proceeds to give this big dramatic build-up. Sador is looking at the stage, as is everyone else, apart from us, because we can see. Troy takes his crown off, disrobes, hands it to Che Burnley and also Jensen Vesper. Tell Sador you're facing him in Troy Ryan. Sador turns round, gets picked up, gets hit with a fall of Troy, and is beat in 10 seconds. Which, it was a spot that worked. I will say that. So unfortunately, we will not see Sador as part of the monarchy. I say unfortunately because I think anyone that knows me will know I am a massive Sador fan. I shouldn't be, really. However, I am, and I do not apologize at all for it. Match number 4. As I say, Jensen Vesper versus Jack Johnson. Again, it's one of those weird things when you see someone on every show that is hated and despised, and then on like the odd show they are seen as kings effectively, which ironically is what Jack Johnson is trying to do, become the King of Salford. So we had this contest. I do have a fair few notes, so this will be one of them. So we start off with Vesper kicking the legs out from Jack Johnson who went to hit his springboard cutter. The fight then gets taken into the crowd, where easily the highlight is Jack and Jensen heading towards the merch area, where, bless her, Jamie is sat down around the merch stand, sort of counting money and doing kind of admin things for the show, and gives a stern warning that feels more like a parent would tell their kids, where she shouts, "Take them back that way," to which whoever it was that had the upper hand at the time. It was absolutely hilarious. Jeebus and me found that extremely funny. I don't think Jamie did at the time. So they head back to ringside. Vesper then nails Jack with a foot to the head of Johnson. I think Johnson was in the ring and Vesper pulled him more out, so his head was right by the ring post, and then just kicked the side of the head into the ring post. We then have a beautiful tilt-a-whirl move into a flatliner by Vesper. Over gets him a 2 count. Vesper then tries the Three Amigos and can only get 2 of them. The closing stages of this contest sees Jack going for the cutter out of nowhere. Vesper stops him, pushes him into Ref Stu, who cowers, and then Vesper splashes Johnson and causes the domino effect as he goes into the referee. Jensen is presented with a chair by King Troy. Johnson then gets a small package on Vesper, but no referee is around to count the pinfall. Jack then grabs the chair, and then we get a bit of a weird scenario, because Jack bangs the chair on the floor, or on the mat, sorry, almost like Eddie would do, where Eddie Guerrero would smash the chair, throw the chair to the opponent, and play dead. I don't know if this is what they were going to do, but Jack bashes the mat and then gets caught with it. And then, anyhow, Jack hands the chair to Ref Stu, and while his back is turned, gets low blowed by Vesper. He then hits a cutter off Brett's rope for 2. Vesper then looks to throw Jack into the ropes, but again, he sticks a leg out to Johnson, tripping him up. This then allows Jack to hit the cutter from nowhere and pick up the 1, 2, and the 3. Yeah, it was, whether that was how it was meant to go, I do not know. But it seemed a bit of a messy finish, if truth be told. That said, we got the result we probably thought would happen, just not in the way we thought it would. Is probably one way to put that. That said, really good match. Vesper puts on really good bouts. Jack is absolutely adored in Salford. He is truly the unofficial king of Salford, and this whole rivalry with Troy Ryan, when the two meet again, it's just going to take the roof. off the Pendlebury Social Club when they get in the ring again. But yeah, really entertaining contest. We then come to the second half, and I'll be honest, because I am honest. The second half, I do not know what happened. So we start off with the Banter Bus versus the Zuberweights. This was a match I was really looking forward to see because I love both teams. I love all four in this match. The problem you can do, though, I feel, is when you have two comedic teams who are, all of them are really great wrestlers, you can over egg the pudding. And for me, there seemed to be more a case of let's do a lot of comedy spots. And I think by the time they got everything they wanted to do, we hardly saw any wrestling at all. Which I don't want to be down on things, but it got to quite about halfway through this where a group of us just looked at each other and thought, no, it's too comedic. There's no wrestling. It just went a bit far too heavy on just comedy. I can't even remember too much wrestling in this match. But what the notes I have is we do in the couple of minutes we did have, they did the Jurassic Park spot where the Zuberweights stand on their opponent's hands and do the T-Rex, which again I love to see it. We then had a few of us got excited then because we had what we thought was going to have Uncle Ryan come out in a dinosaur costume, because it felt that's where we were going to go with this. Instead, we had Tom Felwell turn into a dinosaur, and then started attacking opponents, going for the neck. Went for, I think, referee Reese's neck, and Reese threatened to disqualify him. Yeah, just over egging the pudding. I felt on this. It did not need to be as long as it went. However, the end result was a no contest, as the bigger picture and Conor Patrick Riley came out, jumping both teams, and then we have a mad brawl involving everyone. To which we then have Alex Boylan come out and joining the fray. And the note I actually have here is the brawl was better than the match, which anyone that knows me, I try to be positive on things. And it just didn't make too much sense what they were doing. I mean, there's a couple other things that didn't make much sense, which we will get into. But effectively, we then have Che Burnley get in the ring, shouting like an angry parent to everyone, telling the Banter Bus to leave, the Zuberweights to leave, tells Conor Patrick Riley and Nishiki to leave, tells Joe Young to stay, And then we have Boylan staying as well, because we're going to go to our next match, which is match number 6. Boylan then gets the microphone and says that the next time he loses, he's done, which felt like it came out of nowhere. And then we get to the match, and it felt very much for me like it was a bout that never really got going at all. On the night, I wasn't a fan of it, if truth be told. I've watched it back, and there seems like a whole lot of nothing. There's a lot of just nothing happening at all. We were saying at the time the crowd felt dead, and you can clearly hear people nearby me just have zoned out of this match completely, chatting amongst themselves. From where we were as well, we tried to kind of like start chants, tried to get the crowd back into it, and even we kind of lost heart of trying to start chants. There was a group that started chants of Ed Sheeran to Joe Young, which I think was the loudest in this match. It just didn't hit. Unfortunately, that seemed to be the case for most of this second half. But the closing stages saw Banter Bus and the Zumberweights coming out. I said Zumberweights again. Zuberweights coming out with Nishiki and Conor Patrick Riley preoccupied. We then see Boylan hit a choke slam and then a pile driver to win in bang on 13 minutes. Yeah, the whole start of the second half just it was patchy, to be fair. Again, I've said this before, not always things are going to be as smooth. But the whole start of the second half, from Banterbus, Zuberweights to this match, just none of it really hit. Even the Salford crowd, who are quite vocal and will let you know what they think, there really was no reaction. And I felt bad because Boylan and Young are two really good wrestlers. Just the whole, I don't know what really happened. I suppose it's one of those things you put down to just a bad day at the office. It was just, it's really hard to explain. It just, nothing kind of stuck out. The crowd was dead. But you know, it happens from time to time. We then moved to your main event, and I do have to say this: the 4 women in this match, I think, came into it maybe worrying due to kind of like how the second half had been, and all 4 of these picked up and kind of like helped the show late on. So the notes I have, the theme in this match was really the disintegration of the partnership between Natalie Sykes and Lily Winter. So this kind of carries back from Coronation, I think it was. I'm definitely wrong with that. Well, I try to see if I can find out what the actual show was. This is where I don't get things. No, sorry, it was Take the Throne 2. My apologies. Where we had Lily Winter losing the Queen of Salford final to Alfie. This was, if you listen to Lily Winter, it was caused by Natalie Sykes. And from then, we rolled on to Coronation 2. And we saw kind of Winter and Sykes losing both their respective matches to their opponents this time around in Saxa and Leah Raven. But there has clearly been this partnership petering out, and more a case of Lily blaming Sykes than the other way around. Because it almost feels like Lily is the captain of that duo, if you want to use that term. But as we get into this match, Winter does a great job at agitating everyone, whether it be opponents, the crowd, to which we had Lauren and Gav, who was stood behind us. They found a sign that had Elsa, which is having a go at Lily Winter being Elsa from Frozen. Winter was not happy, let's put it that way. So we get into this, and every time Sykes seemed to have the upper hand on their opponents, Winter would always tag herself in and try and make out like she wanted to take the glory for everything. Again, this would tie in towards like the back end of the contest. So we have Sykes then hitting a neck breaker, though I think it was meant to be an RKO, but I think Sykes had either turned around or just a slight miscommunication, but it still worked. I've got to say that. Winter bided her time while Sykes started to get on the ropes. This was where Lily tags herself in, went to take the glory, going for the pinfall. Saxa kicked out at 2. And then we have the closing stages, as we see Natalie and Lily face to face. Natalie has had enough of Lily Winter now, saying, "What are you doing? Why are you trying to take all the glory?" A heated discussion with the crowd wanting them to fight. Winter tells the crowd, "We're not fighting." Sykes then hits a super kick on Winter, with Raven then kicking the feet away from Natalie Sykes, hitting a big knee to the face. Winter lands a big boot to Leah. And then we see a code breaker by Saxa to Lily, followed by a Sax 1-9 to pick up the victory for her team. We then come to the aftermatch, and Sykes has already made it up to the stage. Winter calls on the microphone, apologizes to Natalie, says, "I am the problem. I am the problem. I want to be friends. Please come back to the ring. I'm so sorry. Everything was my fault. Please come to the ring." Sykes heads back to the ring. The fans want them to fight. Winter says, "I'm not fighting her." So we then have Natalie returning. Jeepers and me discuss what's going to happen. Winter again says, "I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry of how I've treated you. I've been terrible." puts her hand out and says, "I'm really sorry. I want to make it up to you." And Sykes puts her hand out kind of tentatively, and she had a good reason to feel tentative because Lily grabs Nat and throws her, whips her, if you like, into the corner, shoulder first into the ring post. The Ice Queen then stomps on Sykes in the corner, throwing punches at the 21st liability. Winter is then told by the referees to get off, leave. So she leaves, gets on the stage, grabs the beautiful looking Salford City Wrestling women's title, gets back into the ring, clocks Natalie with the title as we have cries of Timu Elsa. And then Winter poses with the women's title and ends the show with her on top. Sykes just lay out on the mat. And we have finally seen the end of this partnership, it seems, between Lily Winter and Natalie Sykes. This, for what it did, this was a really good, solid match. And again, how it ends made a lot of sense, and how they were trying to move stories along. This did everything. And all four in this match, for me, were superb. As we had Saxa, impresses massively every time I ever see her on a show. This one even more so. Leah is always good in the ring. Did not do a whole lot, it has to be said, but the phrase "less is more," that was Raven in this match. Lily, chef's kiss, plays her role to perfection. The best villain, I think, in the Northwest. I dare say God tier in terms of kind of like rule breakers. Lily is just superb at what she does. And also, it's been said a few places, gets better and better and better with every show she's on. Definitely a main staple at Salford, and it shows. Natalie, again, so good. Spent the entire match being her kind of like bratty, loud, unlikable but equally likable self, which is a bit weird to say. The crowd hated her when she came out, yet by the end of the night, the crowd had done a full 180 and were now chanting Natalie. So the whole thing of having Natalie go from villain to fan favorite, they completed that superbly. And I've said it before, Salford is easily one of the best shows. A lot of things make sense. They are, I've said it, they are one of my favorite ones. I think I'm trying to think if I put them as top 3 last year. I think I did. So one thing I will stress as well, especially with all 4 here and a couple others, I will say this for Salford. Their women's division, I think, is the best anywhere on any Northwest show, by far. Catch might possibly come into the conversation, but I think Salford have done more to bring in female talent and give near enough everyone that has been on the card a bit of a story or a backstory. So as we head towards this tournament that I think we will get down the line for the brand new Salford City Wrestling women's title, it is one of those things I'm looking forward to the most. Because I honestly think that Salford is one of the best shows in the Northwest. Price-wise, fantastic. What you get on a card is always, you get your money's worth. I can't say any more glowing things about Salford. But with all that said, this being their, I think it's their 8th show. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this was the 8th show. No, 9th show. Sorry, they haven't added the other one in cage match. So for 9 shows, to say that this arguably was I wouldn't say a bad show, but the second half was not to its usual standards for Salford. The women's match, I do feel, saved this altogether. If I had to give a rating of the entire show, I would probably give it a 7. Normally I give it like 8.5 and a 9, but it was just that second half, the first 2 matches, it just got a bit messy. I do feel it hurt the show with what was happening. But the women's match, again, I feel saved this from being less than a 7. That all said, though, we move away from this one, and what we get is on August the 21st, which is a Friday, if you didn't know already, we have Salford City Wrestling presents Reckoning. And I am looking forward to see where we go with the next chapter, if you like, for SCW. I already have my tickets because I always like to try and do things very quickly. Again, that will be an absolute cracker of a show. And it's going to start a very long week and a half, or 2 weeks nearly for me, because the following week I'm down in London for All In weekend. So, yeah, I could be wrestled out the week after that. But yes, that was Salford City Wrestling, friend or foe. But thank you for listening. I do not know when my next show is that I am attending. While I very quickly check my schedule. Oh, yes. I will be in Stourbridge for Bridge Pro Wrestling's Bash at the Bridge. And then a couple of days later, I will be at Tidal for, unsurprisingly, Tidal Wrestling in Huddersfield. But for now, at least, this has been Bradders. If you're going to a wrestling show anytime soon, have a really fun time. But now, thank you and good night.